Make your mark with landmark title. Today, I'm excited to actually introduce you to someone through one of our preferred partners for 1031 exchange. Unfortunately, Dan couldn't be on here. I know he was on the email marketing that went out, but we have Melissa, who is the manager, correct? For the
I'm the 1031 exchange
10
manager. Yes.
1031 exchange manager. So no one better but to bring her on and fulfill what we're going to be talking about today. So Melissa, share with us a little bit how you got into the industry, how you've been, how long have you been doing 1031 exchanges? We would love to hear that.
I've been doing 1031 exchanges exclusively for 8 years now, and I really enjoy it. Previous to this, I was in real estate and I sold houses
Oh,
for 20 plus years. I fell into 1031 exchanges and I just absolutely loved it. So that's what I've been doing exclusively for the past 8 years.
awesome, awesome. Was that adjustment hard by any chance, or was it pretty similar?
Actually, it was interesting because I knew about this much about
Hmm.
1031s when I was selling real estate, which honestly wasn't great. If I had known more information about 1031s, I could have added more value to my clients. So it was just really interesting to learn the ins and outs and become a specialist in this field and help other realtors gain information so they can add value to their services and their clients.
Right. No, for sure. That is awesome. Can you see my screen by any chance?
I just see you.
Okay. You can't see my screen?
Are you sharing
Okay.
anything?
No, well,
No.
I was, but no, it's okay. That's perfect. We're gonna go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for your patience. Sorry, I just have been having some issues with my computer this morning. But we are here. So, Melissa, let's talk about what 1031 exchange is and how would you explain it in the most simplest terms to anyone that is just kind of understanding the concept?
1031 allows an investor to utilize all of their profits for an acquisition as opposed to paying federal taxes, capital gains taxes, typically around 24%.
Mhm.
And that basically frees up $24,000 out of every $100,000 that would be available to invest in the new acquisition.
Awesome, awesome. So when it comes to that, like when it comes to deferring capital gains taxes, I know it's such a powerful tool, but what would you say, like how is it such a powerful way for people to build wealth, and why is it such a great strategy for investors?
Well, honestly, for that reason, it allows you to defer 100% of the capital gains taxes, which can be substantial. And an investor is able to utilize all of the funds to purchase new properties and use it all for investment instead of having to pay it into the government.
For any real estate agents that use 1031 exchanges, um, like what would you say is the best way for them to attract investor clients?
So to attract the clients, I would say, truthfully, you need to leverage social media to engage the audience and grow the potential clients. Agents need to be more informed on the value it adds for their investor clients, how much money they would be saving. That's really adding value, telling them a lot of only 20% of all commercial transactions utilize a 1031 exchange. So it's
Yeah.
80% of those clients that don't even know about it. So honestly, the agents being educated on it and being able to talk to the clients about it, they don't have to know everything about 1031s. Just know that if it's an investment property that your client's selling, and you know that their end goal is to reinvest in another investment property, not just liquidate, right? Not just take the funds. If they're going to reinvest that money, you need to tell them, hey, have you thought about a 1031 exchange? You can defer your capital gains taxes. You can use all of your funds to purchase something. And then just send them my way and I can go into the details of the transaction with them.
Yeah. So let's say send them your way, right? What does that process look like? Um, does an agent or a seller reach out to you at the beginning? Is it during the transaction? I'm assuming it's the beginning, right? What do you recommend so that way it could be, as smooth sailing as possible?
So I would recommend that as soon as an agent knows their client is interested in a 1031, reach out to me then. I can speak to the client directly. I can go over details of the transaction, what it looks like. I will tell you, I am the queen of last minute transactions. I have honestly had a closer call me while they are closing a client and say, hey, this client wants to do a 1031. We're closing today. I'll get it done. But it's so much better if we start talking to the client, plan it out. This is what it looks like. Here's the documents. I like to have all my ducks in a row. I love that. But if it's a last minute, hey, just thought about it, the client wants to do it, call me. I can get it done same day. That's fine. But honestly, best process is if you know your client would benefit from a 1031, talk to them about it, send them my way. Honestly, I just need to know once there's an executed contract. I'm happy to talk to them as soon as they list the property, but
Mhm.
really I need to talk to them when there's an executed contract.
Gotcha. Okay, good. In your expertise, I mean, it's kind of cool that you have both experience in being an agent and then also doing what you're doing now. What do you think sets apart agents who really win with investor clients? And this could be with 1031 exchange, but just in general, overall, like what do you see in your scope? Because I mean, obviously, you're the professional here, and so I'm sure you see a lot of different things, but I would love for you to share what you think on that.
Well, I think when the agents have the knowledge and can give that to their clients, a 1031 is really a win-win. Um, when you're serving as a consultant and help your clients grow their wealth, that sets you apart from agents that don't know anything and can't advise. It's a deeper level of adding value to yourself and what you
Hmm.
do in serving your clients.
Gotcha. What are some practical ways you see agents introduce a 1031 to clients without overwhelming them?
I think just telling them the basics of what a 1031 does. The huge thing and the thing that excites the client is when they hear, I can defer 100% of my capital gains taxes on the sale of this property. That's going to excite anyone, being able to keep all of your proceeds and put that into something else. You're not losing any money on that transaction going to the government.
Hmm.
You're putting it all in your next investment. That's a huge wealth building tool.
Yeah, especially for someone that makes a lot of money and they're trying to, get away from Uncle Sam. I think that's great, right? It's a great way to leverage your true money that's coming in. Can you
And
walk?
I'll
Oh, go
tell you,
ahead.
it's not just for the big investors.
Right.
Most of the big investors and the commercial guys, they know about 1031s. They're utilizing them. They're
Hmm.
keeping all that money and reinvesting and making more money on it. The people that it truly is such an incredible wealth building tool for are the mom and pops, the me, the you, own one investment property, two investment homes, and they're going to sell one or two. That's a huge thing for people that aren't huge commercial $5 million transactions, $20 million transactions. Obviously, they're
Hmm.
saving huge money, but they already know about it. So the agents are really adding value to the individual owners.
Right, right. Um, so with that being said, can you walk us through uh, the fundamentals of the 1031 exchange, the critical timelines that we should all know, whether they're agents or investor? What does that look like?
So the critical timelines and things that there's no leeway on. These are IRS rules. You have
Right.
a 45-day identification period and 180 days to close on that property. So you have two timelines. They run concurrently in that they both start on the date of the sale. So if you close on your property today, 9/24, you have 45 days from the date of closing to identify on paper what properties you're interested in.
Hmm.
And of course, date of closing, when I receive the funds, when I receive the wire from the title company, I send out a receipt of funds email that has the timelines, your critical dates, in an identification or replacement property form. So I just need that form back by day 45 at midnight. After that date, you cannot change those properties that you're interested in. And you must close on one of those properties listed, one or more. If you don't close, say it's something, the entire transaction falls apart, all three properties you listed wind up getting sold to somebody else. After day 45, we can't switch those out. And then it's just considered a failed exchange. We wire the money back to the client and they would obviously have a taxable event and have to pay their capital gains taxes. But everything typically will go well. And so that 45 days, send that document back into me stating the properties that you're interested in. And then from then you have another 135 days. So it's 180 total to
Yeah.
close on the property.
Okay.
Those
I don't know
properties.
if you have this stat. I was just curious, like what is like the percentages or like the like, 8 times out of 10, um, you see a kind of like a failed 1031 exchange. Is it very slim?
It's a rarity. I will tell you, I had one last week.
Yeah.
It's a rarity, but she was the client was traveling. She didn't have time to look. She was a realtor herself.
Hmm.
So she was looking for her own properties and she was just like, I can't deal with it. I'm traveling. I'm out of the country. Here's my wiring instructions. Just send me the money back on day 46. And
Yeah.
hers wasn't a huge deal either. So it wasn't a huge taxable event, but it happens occasionally. But typically it's because somebody changes their mind and they just decide, I just want my funds back. I have a kid going to college. I'm just going to utilize that money somewhere else instead of reinvesting.
Gotcha. Um, what are the most common mistakes you see investors? I mean, I guess that's one of them, right? Traveling
That's it.
and not, focusing on what's important. But yeah, what are other mistakes that you can see within the investors or the agents during the process of the 1031?
So the number one would be the missed deadline. If you don't identify it by day 45, it's 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 not going to happen. We can't do a
Hmm.
1031 exchange. The other one is waiting too long to contact your QI, which is the qualified intermediary, which is FNX 1031. That's what we do. We're a qualified intermediary. Um, I get a lot of phone calls from agents and clients directly saying, "Oh, I closed on this property on Friday, and it's Monday. I need to do a 1031 exchange." It doesn't work. You have to do your 1031 exchange prior to closing, or documents at closing is fine as well, but you cannot do it after the fact.
What's the role of the qualified intermediary and why is it so important?
Well, it's important because IRS says you must use a qualified intermediary for it to be a valid exchange. And the role is we do all the documentation, we make sure all timelines are met, we receive the funds, and then we send the funds back out for closing.
Yeah, kind of sounds like an escrow officer almost
A little
in
bit,
in a
yes.
way. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, nice, nice. Um, and by the way, if anyone has any questions, I know this topic is um, something that, not a lot of us are very knowledgeable in. Please feel free to ask away in the chat section. Um, what are some of the myths or maybe some misconceptions about 1031?
I will tell you the question I get the most often, and that is people that have looked up 1031s a little bit. And IRS uses the term like kind, that a 1031 exchange, you must purchase like kind property. A
Mm.
lot of people feel like that means if I'm selling a commercial building, I must buy a commercial building. Or if I'm selling a rental home, a single family home, I must buy that. It's not, it's a very confusing term. Like kind means real estate. So you can sell a single family home and you can go buy a commercial building. You can sell a vacant lot and go buy an apartment complex. So basically, like kind means real estate.
Does like kind also mean like dependent on how somebody uses it, how they use it, or is it?
Anything in a 1031, the simple fact is it must be used for investment or income producing property.
Okay. Well, that straightens that answer out. Like
It's
it.
just real estate that you're going to
Yeah,
make money off of by renting it out, those kind of things.
gotcha. Um, if there's, I mean, kind of just wrapping up some of like our basic questions, is there anything um specific to 1031 that an agent should know that they can take away from kind of this call today?
Like I said, that a 1031 exchange, it's just a win-win. It's a win-win as their clients. They can defer sometimes permanently through estate planning, all their capital gains taxes, their tax basis liability, and their client will have more capital for acquisitions for them to make more money. Also informing clients of 1031 exchanges, it may get investors off the fence
Hmm.
if they weren't sure they were ready to sell a property or not, and buying a new one. Yeah.
Okay.
It
And
also
then,
provides opportunities for, increased levels of transactions. If there are clients that are sitting on the fence, well, I'm not sure. They see that they can defer all their capital gains, move it into a larger property, receive bigger rents or what
right.
have you. Yeah.
Just another segue to something more, I see.
Yes.
And just to kind of uh briefly touch on your guys' operations. I know like Dan was supposed to be on the call today. He's an attorney. And that's just to make sure that everything is, I mean, I'm sure he plays a lot of roles, but can you explain like a little bit of what Dan does and then what you do to anyone that's kind of listening here?
Dan is amazing. I love having Dan on staff. So Dan is an attorney and he is a 1031 exchange specialist. He has been in the business for many, many, many years. I love having him as a resource. Typically, I will take client phone calls. I will take agent phone calls. I work the deals. I work the file. Any agent that refers a client to me, they can call me anytime. Because again, I was in real estate for over 20 years. I answer my phone 24/7. You text me at 11 o'clock at night with a question that a client has, I'll answer you.
Hmm.
And so I work the file from beginning to end. I'll always know the client name, I'll always know the address, I'll always know where we are in the file. Having Dan as a resource for any deals that have hair on them or that might be a little outside the box and we need to get creative on, okay, how do we structure this or structure that? Like if it's an LLC or a TIC agreement or something like that. If it has a little bit more hair and we need to get creative, I pull Dan in. Dan will take client calls all the time as well.
Hmm.
And he is just, he comes with using FNX 1031. So you can actually talk to an attorney and ask more detailed questions. I won't answer legal questions. I won't answer tax questions that a CPA or accountant should answer because I'm not a CPA, I'm not an
Right.
accountant, and I'm not an attorney. But we are so thankful to have Dan with us because he is an attorney. So he can dive deeper into things. So if there's a question that goes more into the legalities of something or kind
Hmm.
of in the gray area, we call Dan up and say, hey, we have this question, and he can answer that more in depth. So he is a wonderful resource to have on our team.
Awesome. Yeah, that's good to know for anyone out there that is looking for a 1031 exchange company. I've had the pleasure of meeting Dan, and he's a very knowledgeable guy. There's some words in his vocabulary that I had no idea that were words, and so he's definitely someone that you can trust. Um, with that being said, is there like a real life example that you can share that was very successful in a 1031? I know it may be kind of long, but maybe just to give a little bit more context for someone to understand what this really looks like for an agent or an investor moving forward.
Okay, I do. So Dan actually gave me this example that he had recently, or that a client that he'd worked with for a while.
Hmm.
So it was a small commercial real estate investor. The initial investment was a small retail strip center that they purchased for $500,000. The property appreciated modestly at 5% per year. The investor had a mortgage of with 20% down. So he had $100,000 in equity. He did his first 1031 exchange. He held the property for 5 years. So 5 years in, he did his first 1031. The property appreciated to $640,000. He did a 1031 exchange into a larger property that he purchased. It was a retail building for 900,000. So he deferred his capital gains taxes on that. That was a $140,000 gain from the first property and due to utilizing a 1031 exchange. So then they owned a bigger property with a higher rental income. He held that property for 3 years and he did a second 1031 exchange. The new property grew to 1.1 million. The investor used a 1031 exchange to move into a $1.5 million multifamily apartment complex, again deferring the capital gains. The apartment building generated a stronger cash flow, which they reinvested. Then after 5 years of holding that property, they did a third 1031 exchange. The apartment building appreciated to 2 million. He traded into multiple smaller commercial properties totaling 2.5 million to diversify his risk. And then the long-term outcome over 15 years, the initial $100,000 equity turned into a diversified $2.5 million portfolio. All capital gains taxes were deferred along the way because he used 1031 exchanges throughout that process. That was a 15-year client of Dan's.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That just shows you, I mean, you hear this very often, like real estate is a segue to building wealth, and that's just a definitely a primary example. Doing it through a 1031, hands down, probably the one of the best things that that client could have done. So that's an amazing story and feedback for anyone that's on here listening. Um, with so like things are always changing in our industry from like I mean prime example was like NAR settlement, right? I know that's not on the topic of like what we're talking about today, but things constantly change. Is there potential changes in the law to investing that we should be aware of from agents, investors, title companies, like in 1031 exchange? Like, what's the future behind that look like? Do you have any context or feedback from that?
All I can say is typically you hear a lot of chatter about 1031s potentially going away, making changes to it, doing away with it altogether. You typically hear that before presidential election years. It has not happened. We don't expect that it's going to happen. Of course, nobody knows for sure, but historically, it's been shown that they're not going to do away with them. 1031 exchanges have been around since 1921, and there have been no real changes to it since it started, other than you used to be able to do personal property as well. Could add that in like boats and cars and stuff like that to it. That went away. Oh, I don't have the date. I don't remember actually. But that went away a long time ago. So now it's just real property. It's real estate only related. But other than that, there have been no significant changes to it.
Mm, okay. No, that's good to know. But if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask away right now. Melissa, thank you so much. I didn't want to take too much of your time. I know you filled in for Dan today, but anyone out there, you can feel free to take a screenshot. This is Melissa's contact information. Obviously, a great resource to have if you are doing a 1031 or agents, if you have any clients that are looking to reinvest. I would definitely recommend First National Exchange. And then um, with that being said, I just wanted to go over Melissa, do you have anything else you wanna touch base on before we kind of say goodbye?
No, I think we covered a lot. If anybody has some questions, you can feel free to reach out, email me, call me, text me. I respond to communication.
Yeah, no, she does. I was talking to her late last night too, so save her number. Like I said, she's a great resource. Thank you so much for your time today, Melissa. I'm going to go ahead and just walk through some of our events and classes that we have over here at Landmark. One of the value pieces that we try to bring to our realtor partners and just to our industry in general is just to educate and provide as much value as possible to help grow your business. Um, this Friday, or yeah, this Friday. I thought it was Thursday for a second. This Friday, we have our Building a Sustainable Real Estate business panel. It's at the Henry in Arcadia. It's a packed house. I think we're already all sold out, but I think we did end up leaving open up 10 more seats for anyone out there that wants to go ahead and register last minute. Um, top producing agents, brokerage owners. Even we just added JP. He's a agent up in Northern Arizona coming on. Definitely don't want to miss out. And it will be in person, so there won't be any recording. So definitely want to be there. The next CE class that we got going on the 30th is managing the home inspection, 3 hour CE disclosure class. It'll be at our Arrowhead office, and then all of our sponsors are below. Reach out, or you could sign up using the QR code there, or reach out to your BDM. And then we have another. Is this a CE class? No, it is not. Maybe it is. I don't know. Rock Solid nailed the new build. I think it is a CE class over on October 10th. Um, Reach out to your CE or your BDM, business development manager, if you would like to attend this one. Got a navigating divorce transactions. I don't know about you guys, but I've been hearing and seeing a lot of divorces happening right now. So if you're a realtor out there that needs some re-education or education on these topics, I would highly recommend you do so. October 15th from 10 to 1. This one is at our Arrowhead office as well on the west side. And then we have our Real Fun Day on October 22nd. This is actually going to be up in Scottsdale. We have a great office that's hosted by 210 Home Warranty. We're going to be just doing some reels and creating content for all of you agents out there that are trying to, dabble into social media or just need content to post. I'll be definitely hands-on at this event, and we are taking a limited space, so make sure you sign up for that. But with that being said, just quick shout out to our team, our business development team that honestly just make our world go round. And you guys are definitely, the heart of Landmark, and of course our escrow team as well. And with that being said, just to close out, please think of Landmark on your next escrow. Our mission is title and escrow, and we definitely deliver. We are your closing team. And if you ever need any questions or if you haven't worked with us and you want to reach out to us and give us a shot, we would love for you to do so. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for your time. Melissa, thank